Leon Edwards, welterweight champion, faces Colby Covington in the final main event of the year, defending his welterweight title. I'm going to ask you a very simple question here, Tom. Does Colby Covington deserve this title shot?
Clearly not. No.
Okay,
one of the images that keeps doing the rounds on the MMA Reddit is wins over ranked opponents. Our man Colby Covington has zero wins over currently ranked opponents. So that's not a good look, Joe. That's not a good look. He's built this off of his persona, and let's be fair, off of his performance against Kamaru Usman in their 2 fights. How much credit does he deserve for that? Losing performances, but good. Major fights, big fights.
Big fight moments where he sold it, and from a personality standpoint, I get why they want to give him this shot. It makes sense to put him in there against Leon if they're trying to build Leon up. Sorry, Tom.
What about the argument, though, that we're talking about if Colby deserves to be here?
He doesn't.
I mean, Kamaru was the pound-for-pound number 1 at the time when they first fought. He took him to the wire, I felt, in that first fight. I loved it. I know that you had more doubts about it. Undoubtedly, though, a strong performance from Colby.
It was a strong performance, yeah.
Usman hard.
Yeah, I think that fight is actually kind of like the end of a certain era of Colby Covington as well. Like, when he got finished, I think that changed something in his wiring, where I actually think it's affected his next few performances, including the rematch with Usman, because, to be honest, man, those first 2 rounds in the rematch against Usman, it's not even close. Usman's close to finishing him, I think, at least once in that fight. And then there's a moment where Covington's like, right, I've just got to, bite down and go.
Throw it all out there. Yeah.
And I still had him losing. I had him losing quite comfortably. I think I had him losing 4 rounds to 1. It's like, okay, fine, fair enough. Gone up against Usman, he's the champ, you come up short. It's not just the fact he's come up short, it's how he's come up short. And even in his winning performances, what is his best winning performance? And it's Rafael dos Anjos in 2018?
Yeah, June of 2018.
Man, that's a long time ago. I think it's, and I think that fight against Masvidal, they both looked terrible. I think Colby looked dreadful in that fight. Am I being a bit harsh here, Tom, do you think?
I mean, it was comprehensive, the win. Like, you might hope he would put away Jorge, but he dominated him, did he not?
Do you remember my reaction when Burns beat Masvidal?
No, it's not fresh to mind.
It was basically, Burns should have finished this guy, and Colby should have finished that guy. And that's why I was like really down on both of them. For that, it was just like, that guy is just washed beyond washed. I mean, he couldn't finish Robbie Lawler as well, remember that? And that was Robbie Lawler, who was just up against the cage rolling with shots. Like, it does show you that Covington has no power in his hands, pretty much. And I think that is a problem for him, and that will be a problem for him against Edwards. I think also that loss to Usman, the first one, it has forced Covington to also he fights a step further back than he used to. Like, he just doesn't want to be in boxing range anymore.
After the jaw break you're talking about.
The jaw-breaking finish from Usman.
Yeah.
And I think that a guy who's standing a foot further away than he should be against someone like Leon Edwards, who is the bigger, rangier fighter, is probably not a great position to be in. If, by the way, I can only use the reference points of the Masvidal fight, of the Usman fight, of the Woodley fight, which we've all thankfully forgotten about. If it's that guy giving that performance, there's a worry for me for Covington.
Well, before we get into the actual fight breakdown, I want to explore this idea a bit more about merit of being there. Colby did come back with, I don't know, a comment that made me pause and think for a moment when dealing with this question about, his wins in welterweight. And he pointed to Leon's record. And the absence of young, up-and-coming contenders on his record. Now, let's remember Leon fought RDA after Colby.
Yeah, and his win was more comprehensive.
It was. To an even older RDA. I mean, they both won with comfort. The next win for Leon comes over Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
In 2021.
But this was during we had COVID. We had. Is that not including the Bilal Muhammad fight in there?
Well, yeah, which obviously ended unceremoniously with a no contest in the second.
The 3 times Leon said yes to fighting Hamzat.
Yeah,
we're not including that.
That's a wild time. That is a wild time. I remember you and I were really down on where Leon was at in the sport. We thought he was totally cut adrift and lost. I just thought there is some merit to that. If I go back before the RDA win, it's Gunnar Nelson. I mean, that man's nowhere near contention.
Of course.
It's Donald Cerrone before that. Barberena. Peter Sabota.
I mean, look, we're getting into a time place now where I think it's not even particularly relevant. Like, this is the thing, is that Edwards got a title shot against Usman. He won the title. He defended it against Usman. In that time, Covington has not fought once. He's not even come close to fighting a contender, and he's never come close to fighting a contender because he put himself in a position of never having to. Like, he is in this very cushy position where he's managed to talk his way into this thing of, like, I'm actually a culturally significant fighter and personality in the sport, even though there's no monetary evidence to prove that. I think Dana White's got an obsession with social media that I think is quite unhealthy. And I think that his framework of looking at fighters' personalities and what they're worth through social media and what they're actually worth monetary-wise are 2 different things. The classic example I always like to bring up is Chris Cyborg always sold more pay-per-views than Max Holloway. However, Max Holloway is a bigger star in the UFC.
I am shocked by that remark. That was raised eyebrows on my part. That I don't know. I don't know where to go with that information. I'd take Max Holloway all day, Joe. All day. Okay. I mean, Max Holloway versus Cyborg at 145. I'd buy that pay-per-view.
Of course, same. Of course.
But, yeah, okay. I mean, credit to Colby then. He's managed to get himself in this position. We find him matching up against Leon. I think both our instincts is, let's not beat around the bush. Leon's going to kill him. But let me just kind of work these narratives that we're hearing through the week. All right? Infinite cardio from Colby. Relentless takedown approach. Leon did struggle against the cage with Usman in the first fight. We can't hide from that. Leon was losing that fight.
The first or the second? When you say the first, do you mean the second?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Well, the first he got mauled by
the first title fight.
Yeah, the first title fight, but the first time they matched up, obviously that was a comprehensive win for Usman. But in the first title fight, yeah, I mean, let's not pretend those first 4 rounds. Well, let's say second, third, and fourth round didn't happen. The story's well trodden. I'm not going to revisit it, but Colby has those same tools that Usman has, and perhaps against Leon they can be applied to a greater extent. Is there any legitimacy to that?
I would say so, but do you know what I would give Usman the credit with having that Covington doesn't have, which is the strength advantage that he has? Do you remember in the second title fight between Edwards and Usman? Usman went in for a single leg. He got the leg up. Edwards defended it, and then he just yanked his leg down and dragged him down. And he had this sort of like sweeping power to do that. But if you actually look at that fight, the amount of takedowns he got, I think he got 4 takedowns in that fight, Usman, but no control time. He didn't have the power to keep him down. And I know that everyone always says that Covington's thing is he takes you down and he kind of lets you back up just to take you down again. Like, it's not about...
kind of like a bigger Marab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's I'm not going to hold you down, but I'm going to keep you in a position that's not beneficial to you. I just really do struggle with the idea that Covington is going to win 3 rounds with that. Because, again, we have to factor in the most important thing here, which is damage. And who is going to have more damaging skills here? And that's Leon Edwards. I think we factored a lot of this talk around Covington so far, so I think we should shift it to Edwards at this stage. And I know that there are some people that are going to listen. Oh, two English lads going to big up Leon Edwards. Listen, Leon has got a lot of flaws. Okay, I love him, and I think his biggest flaw is his mind. I think that's all. No, it has though. It has. In not in the sense that he doesn't believe in himself, but I think one of his biggest flaws is that I'm cruising. I can cruise through this. I can cruise past this, and then people
lack of urgency.
Yeah, and I think that is always the thing that bugs me about him. Now, if that second title fight with Usman is proof that that lack of urgency is gone, then we could be onto something new here. I think we were looking at an athlete that's potentially peaking. Or was it a guy who was just locked in for that one moment? You know? I don't know what it is about Leon. Like, I think I can't declare him, the best welterweight in the world just yet. Do you know what I mean? I need to have this Covington fight where he's locked in. There's no fucking around for any in the 25 minutes. He doesn't cruise. Covington's in the clinch. Oh, I'll just ride this out. No, he's elbowing on the break. He's doing everything. He's doing his classic Leon moves.
So dangerous on the break.
Yeah.
Let's just pause on that. So dangerous on the break.
Oh, by the way, how elbow on the break is not just like the new thing that everyone does. Like, Leon's like one of 5 people who does them. And it just it flabbergasts me that more guys don't do it.
There's clear optimization to be done across this mixed martial arts era we find ourselves in. We've evolved so much, but simple things like that, like clean shots on the break, especially with the elbows, it's something that every fighter can learn from. But Leon, he's peaked that art. And there are a few others. I mean, it's definitely being contrasted, this matchup, also as a kind of a pitter-patter pressure style of Covington versus precision and timing and of course power, picking his shots. Leon does tend to do that. The question is, let's say that Colby can find his way inside. He can work into those positions where he's more comfortable. He can back Leon up. Does that provoke a more aggressive response from Leon? Does that give you more volume? Or, as you say, do you get that, I don't want to use the word lethargic, I'm searching for another one.
Measured.
Yeah. Measured to the point where rounds are slipping away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can envision that, to be honest, because I think that this Covington relentless pressure wrestler grinding you down, I don't think he is that guy anymore. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think he's had opponents which have invited that. I mean, that Woodley fight is just, it was appalling. Again, is it the opponents? Because when he faces Usman, he kind of looks good. But Usman's one of the best fighters in the world. He faces a washed Masvidal, a washed Woodley, a washed Lawler, and it's just like, oh, this guy doesn't look very good. Yeah, maybe because the competition isn't right. Like, maybe he doesn't bring the best out of him. So maybe against Edwards, it's going to be like the peak Colby Covington. I just thought when I watched that Masvidal fight back that his feet looked slow. His movements in the takedowns looked slow. Or not slow, but slower than the guy that fought RDA. When I watched that RDA fight, I watched him relentlessly going and going and going and going, and RDA staying with him, and then he's not able to stay with him in rounds 2 and 3, and then RDA's like, I've got to drag this out, and he gets back going in the 4th and 5th. I just don't think that Covington exists anymore, because also he's 35, approaching 36 in February, I believe. He's devoted his life to this. And not many guys make it to that age at this weight class and are in great physical health. I'm sorry,
let's cut to it, Joe. I actually think we've tried to give a credible account of Covington in this fight, and even in doing so, we've been pretty dismissive. Rightly so. Leon is entering his prime, and we are going to see it on Saturday. I think he's going to hurt Colby badly. I think it's a total mismatch.
Really?
And let me tell you right now, coming in hot with some betting tips, Leon at 1.67 is a steal. I have him in my books a much bigger favourite than that. A much bigger favorite.
That's
I
mad.
think Leon. I think he really puts the work on him, hurts him very badly, and knocks him out. I think Leon beats him everywhere, Joe.
Wow.
I think he beats him. I don't think Colby gets anything going.
Wow.
I don't think he gets anything going.
Do you know what? You have, like... I haven't even broken down what Edwards is good at yet, and you're just like, he's knocking him out. Like, we've just broke down Covington. Yeah, he's going to knock him out. Yeah, okay. Can I just break
It's that
down...
simple.
Can I break down Leon first, just a little bit?
Yeah.
The interesting thing here is that Leon's a southpaw, and Covington is mostly a southpaw, so that should in theory remove the kicks, but to be honest, Covington switches a lot, and I think that whenever he goes into orthodox, he's getting kicked in the leg. The lead leg is getting chopped at. He hated that against Masvidal. That first round against Masvidal, he hated that. And he just like, oh God, I'm going to have to go into boxing range. He didn't want to go into boxing range, and then he got dropped in the fourth by him because he went into boxing range. Then Leon's got the body kick where he will kick you to the body. You think, oh, I can catch this. So then he just drops the leg and then he switches into orthodox stance, and then he's there to hit you with like a lead hand left hook. And then he's got the high kick, which obviously the famous one is behind the 1-2 and then knocking out Usman. Do you know what's great, by the way, about that knockout?
Changed the world.
Yeah, changed the world. Do you know what's great about the knockout? It's just before that he sort of stutters it, and you see the right hand going out quite far, and that little measure of distance that Usman just didn't pick up on. And then the next time he fully committed to it and hit that head kick is just absolutely sublime.